Hi, I'm Suzanne Siracuse, and welcome to season 2 of my podcast, focused on the future keys to building a profitable, sustainable, and impactful business. And I'm excited to be partnering with wealthmanagement.com on this. This series will focus on what firms need to embrace to ensure their growth and success for the future. And you'll hear from industry leaders and advisors on what is working for them. I have a great lineup of guests in store, and today is my season finale featuring two industry powerhouses and great personal friends, Shannon Spotswood and Abby Salameh. Shannon is the CEO and Abby is the Chief Growth Officer of RFG Advisory, an advisor-focused, professionally managed RIA of the future that delivers the tech, operations, compliance, marketing, back office support, and coaching that advisors need to better serve their clients, grow their practice, and create their own version of success. I love that, whoever wrote that. So welcome, Shannon and Abby. Great to see you. And thank you so much for being my guests. I'm really looking forward to this.
Great to be
Awesome
here.
to be here.
Great, wonderful. And you guys are my first dynamic duo. So this is a great way to end 2024. So I always like to start off the podcast with the same question, right? And that is how you actually ended up within the wealth management industry. More often than not, it's by accident or by chance. So Shannon, let's start with you. Tell us about your journey that led you to being the CEO of RFG Advisory.
Well, first off, it's awesome to be here, and what an honor to be wrapping up 2024. I think 2025 for our industry is going to just be a tremendous, tremendous year. So very excited for this conversation. I think I'm a little bit unique / weird in terms of how I landed where I am in the industry, because truly, since I was a teenager, I had fallen in love with Wall Street and knew that I always wanted to work in finance. And I can say that that is somewhat weird because I now have teenagers. So asking my parents for a subscription to the Wall Street Journal at 14 and looking at my 20-year-old, almost 18-year-old and 16-year-old and realizing like that is unusual to have that level of clarity. But if I'm honest, I was attracted to money. I was attracted to how does money work, how money correlates to industry, and all of that just captured my attention really early on. But my path to sitting here in this tremendous privilege of leading RFG is somewhat different, because I spent the first 20 years of my career in San Francisco on the institutional side of the business and had this unbelievable opportunity. It was early days in the technology industry and the banking and hedge fund industry out west. And so I had the opportunity to be a part of 2 hedge funds and an investment bank. So tour of duty as an analyst in an investment banking program, associate, M&A. I had my dream job, which was running a long short equity hedge fund for 6 years, and spent 10 years at a hedge fund called Symphony Asset Management. So in terms of my 14-year-old's heart and what I hoped to do in the industry, I really had this incredible journey where I checked every single box during that 20 plus years in San Francisco. And then I had something that I never saw coming, which is I completely fell out of love with the industry. And I hit a wall, and I did a very hard left-hand pivot. And I went from the tallest building in San Francisco. We'd been acquired by Nuveen Investments, this unbelievable opportunity that we had built at Symphony. And I left the industry and I partnered with a woman, and I spent 3 years building a luxury children's clothing company. So pretty much the exact opposite of the world of investment banking and hedge fund management. And, from the tallest building in San Francisco to a garage surrounded by upside down boxes of infant cashmere, spent 3 years in the trench and building a company truly from the ground floor up. And it was while I was running that business that my husband and I decided to leave San Francisco and move to Birmingham, Alabama. And not being from Birmingham and not growing up in Birmingham, people thought we had literally lost our minds. So we made this dramatic, like, leap and a net will appear decision, moved to Birmingham. And by the third year of my tenure at Busy Bees, we had checked every single box of that business plan. We had built one of the first e-com sites on Shopify. We had diversified the business into both wholesale and direct to consumer. We had done a collab with Gwyneth Paltrow as she was launching Goop. Like, it really was this incredible entrepreneurial chapter. And my heart started yearning for my first love, which was truly finance. And I rolled out of Busy Bees, turned over my responsibilities there, and spent 5 months in a deep contemplation, trying to understand what knit together the two hedge funds I worked at, San Francisco, the investment banking experience, the luxury children's clothing company. And I had this real epiphany that I was on the ground floor of each of those opportunities and that I'm a builder. I'm a builder.
Yep.
And I titled my job search in Birmingham Seeking the Intangible. And I was looking for the intersection of talent and opportunity in this incredible gift to build something bigger than myself, which I think is one of life's like gifts, is to be a part of something, building something bigger than yourself. So seeking the intangible allowed me really the opportunity to talk to anyone doing anything remotely related to finance in Birmingham. And I met the founder of RFG. And 10 minutes into our conversation, we both canceled the rest of our day. And we spent the next 2.5 hours in his office talking about what if we took RFG and we tore it down to the ground and we intentionally built it from the ground floor up as a platform to serve independent advisors with an eye towards the future, with a real intentionality around innovation and disruption, and being like very true to our DNA of independence means something. And I knew walking out of that meeting, I had found my intangible. That was in 2015. I started September 1st, 2015 as the president of RFG, and I stepped into the CEO role in July of this year of 2024. And I honestly can say, as we sit here today and bringing Abby into the C-suite and into the boardroom and into our leadership team alongside our partners, Rick Waddell, who's our president now and chief investment officer, and Ken Kim, who's our CFO, that we are just getting started and having a passion both for building and for finance. This is the greatest chapter of my professional career. And we are so energized and so excited about what we're building at RFG to serve independent advisors and really define what it means to be the RIA of the future.
You know, I didn't know the majority of what you just talked about your journey. And it's really very interesting. First and foremost, already women are kind of an anomaly as leading firms still in the wealth management industry. It's even worse in terms of a lower percentage in the hedge fund business. So the fact that you've kind of gravitated to these areas that are also predominantly male dominated, and you've just like killed it in each of those areas is pretty impressive. I also just love the fact that you went out on your own, you decided to be an entrepreneur, you started something completely different, probably tapped into a little bit of your creative side as well. And I believe all of those experiences lead you to where you're supposed to be now. And just how you've articulated the vision in a pretty succinct way to do that around RFG and its goals is super impressive, Shannon. So I love that story. I actually have never had anyone on the podcast talk about ordering a Wall Street Journal subscription at age 14. I don't think I would have even understood it. But that just shows, like, at your core, you need to be in the financial services space. So we're glad that you came back, and excited about what you guys are doing there. And then next, Abby, same question, and like hint for those of you that are listening that don't know Abby and I's background. You'll hear it now, but we were just talking before this podcast started shooting that I think we're each other's first friends in this industry. We both worked together at Investment News. But Abby, tell us a little bit about your journey. I know you've had a lot of high profile roles in the space. It was really great to see you and Shannon come together at RFG. So how did you end up working with advisors to begin with?
Yeah, so thank you. And it's so good to be here, and always good to see one of my oldest friends in the industry, not by age, but by tenure of our friendship. So I
Glad you
actually,
clarified that. Kidding.
yes, exactly.
We're
I
aging in reverse.
exactly, Benjamin Button. I I also knew I always wanted to be in, actually not in finance, but on Wall Street. So that was always like something in my head in high school. Like I knew that's what I wanted to do, and I knew I wanted to be in New York City for that. So my first job right out of school was at Sanford Bernstein, where I got all my licenses and I was indoctrinated into this business and really understood portfolio management and financial advice and wealth management. Sanford Bernstein at the time was still a private company, not part of Alliance Bernstein, and they were very well known in the industry for their institutional research on the sell side, and then for their high net worth client asset management, wealth management on the buy side. So being there was like a really great opportunity for me to be a sponge and just learn a lot about the business. And after 5 years of being there, I realized this wasn't what I wanted to do for a number of reasons. And lo and behold, somehow fate put you and I together in launching a newspaper for financial advisors, where, I will say that that was building from the ground floor. We were out there with a prototype of what the newspaper would look like, and it looked a lot more like Pensions and Investments than it did Investment News today.
Yeah.
So from that springboard, I really started to understand where my passion was and how I wanted to deliver my talent and my experience. So, unlike Shannon, I've grown up in the wealth management industry, always serving financial advisors and really always serving independent financial advisors, whether that was building support solutions, practice management, business solutions, marketing support for advisors at TD Waterhouse or TD Ameritrade, or then Private Advisor Group and Hightower. My mission was always the same. How can I better serve advisors so that they may go out and help more people? And it was kismet and kind of like fate that then brought Shannon and I together, knowing that with that passion and that mission, she also shared in that same servant-minded support, and we are building something very different. So, I will say my journey has been very unlinear, right? But it's always been surrounding financial advisors in some capacity, one way or another.
I love that. And you really have developed out some great programs and got to really know advisors throughout your entire journey. And as you said, through all different types of companies. But the same goal was serving advisors. So I think that serves you guys well working together now in what you're building at RFG.
Suzanne,
Thanks
can
for
I just
sharing
add
that,
one
you
thing?
guys.
Can I add
Yes.
one thing just before we move on? And I just want to say how amazing, like one of our cultural attributes at RFG is to surround ourselves with A players. We always say, look left, look right, and there's an A player.
Mhm.
And for, this chapter of building RFG and what we believe we can do to support independent advisors and define what it means for the future, It is the most fun, most energizing, most exciting time to build this C-suite, to lead RFG, and for the first time in my career, to have another like incredible, talented woman in the boardroom, in the C-suite. I just have to say, it is so energizing and so awesome. And I really, truly believe that it is going to be a difference maker in terms of how we can create and build RFG for advisors.
I love that. And I love seeing you two together. It's infectious and it's not competitive. It is, you guys are both lifting each other up. And I think that's really important to show, because women have been, there's always kind of like the one and the queen bee syndrome at times. And so to be able to really showcase you two like A players, as you mentioned, is important for other women to see. Really, really important. And I really mean that. Now, you just mentioned something that kind of dovetails onto my next question, which is what are you seeing as key areas that are critical to advisors and the firms that they work for achieving success for their practices as our industry and the people it serves evolves? And I think you touched on something really important, which is you got to have great people in place in order to execute on whatever your business strategy is. But I that is such a key point that I think sometimes goes overlooked because it's not as sexy or glamorous or interesting as other things. But if you don't have great people in place, you're almost like doomed. So from your perspective, what are you seeing as the key areas that are critical for success for the future?
Suzanne, you're 100% right. And I think part of the reason why talent often gets overlooked is it is coupled with culture.
Yeah.
And that is incredibly hard to build a vibrant and self-fulfilling culture that is intentional, that is aligned both on mission, vision, and values. And it truly is the secret to success because it is the one piece of your business that ultimately cannot be competed away. And it is something that for advisors, and this is, we believe, a very important part of the ingredients for success of the future, is advisors really authentically telling their story, building their companies to be reflective of their values, and then amplifying that message out in both their client experience and how they are delivering their services to clients. So we all can agree that table stakes for our industry, you have to be awesome at your investment management. You have to be awesome at financial planning. Increasingly, clients are saying they want expertise around tax planning as well as estate planning. Those are table stakes. Like you've got to nail that. You've got to be great at the basics. But the X factor in terms of how are advisors going to continue to grow? How are they going to define what the future looks like? How are they going to achieve success? We think it really boils down to two things. One, how are you going to spend your time? It is your most valuable resource. How are you going to prioritize your time? And number two, how are you going to deliver an exceptional client experience? The client of the future is telling us that the reason why they work with advisors is because they get me, they share my values, and I want to spend time with them outside the office. So increasingly, advisors have got to be able to isolate those points and demonstrate to the marketplace how they are connecting with people. So we are constantly talking with our advisors as we think about how do you prioritize your time. There's a great Fidelity study out there that advisors are spending 10 to 12 hours a week on just trading activity. Just trading activity. So
Wow.
a quarter of your work week is
Ugh.
being spent on non-revenue generating, non-value add to your relationship activities. So you've got to professionalize and operationalize your business. You have to have streamlined processes in place for how you're onboarding, how you're segmenting your clients. And then you've got to be able to look around at your team and make sure everyone is in the right role to be able to lean into their natural gifts and skills and deliver on that promise of an exceptional client experience. And if they're bogged down in a bunch of non-revenue generating operational headaches, technology headaches, compliance headaches, fill in the blank, then they're not going to be able to do that. And the way that we really walk the walk, like the testimony on this for RFG, is we are a platform that supports independent advisors. We help them build enterprise value by driving organic growth. And that organic growth piece is so critically important. So our advisors are generating organic growth of 13% this year annualized.
Wow.
In an industry where organic growth is 2 to 3%. The number one factor that is going to determine what is your future enterprise value is what is your organic growth. It's going to demonstrate that you have clients that are across the age spectrum, and it's going to set you up to be the really capturing all of these assets that are in motion. So we are sitting right now in a bull market for advice. These next 5 years for advisors are going to unlock more opportunities than I think we have seen in the prior 20 or 30 years. But you're not going to be in a position to win if you haven't gone through that very deep, intentional work around what am I good at? How am I spending my time? And then making sure that you are going to be ruthless about aligning your time to deliver on the mission, the vision, and the values for your business. So I think that those are the critical pieces. What is your client experience and how are you spending your time?
Yeah, you totally agree with you, and I feel you really summed that up nicely. I actually think that's one of the reasons that we are seeing so many deals go on, because I think sometimes advisors got into this business because they wanted to just work with clients and do financial plans and all that. And then they got successful, and all of a sudden they have 10, 12 people, 20 people working for them. And that exercise that you're talking about is really about professional management. And many advisors just either don't want to do that, don't want to spend the time going through that process, or they don't know where to start. I think that you're right. It's become a much more, I don't want to say complicated business model, but with technology and with all these new services and offerings that clients are demanding, I feel like it's become a different type of business than it was 15 years ago, 10 years ago. So that's really, I think those are really, really key things for advisors that are listening to keep in mind. And, you know, you describe RFG as this comprehensive platform designed to address advisors' key pain points and these operational efficiencies so that they can focus on growing their practice, right? And I would imagine technology plays a really pivotal role in that. There are so many tech solutions out there. I remember going to the Schwab conference, probably with you, Abby, and there was like 4 vendors. Everything else was asset managers. Now there's, I feel like hundreds. Look at the Kitsis Tech Map. So how do you evaluate which tech solutions make the most sense for the advisors you work with?
So I'll just start, and just going back to what we were saying before, the evolution of financial advice in the independent space has changed so much,
Yeah.
even since 5 years ago when I was at Hightower Advisors, right? And organic growth is the key. You're seeing all of the M&A activity going on, but you know what's missing from all of that activity is the true organic growth of the underlying advisor. So when we talk about being maniacally focused on helping our advisors organically grow, we are not just talking the talk, we are actually walking the walk. We have a team of very great consultants that are working with our advisors every day to uncover ways that we can help them drive organic growth. And then not only are we uncovering those ways, we are actually handling the execution of it for them. So the rubber meets the road when action happens. And
Mhm.
I don't know how many advisors I've seen go to coaching courses or go to one of the consultants to get growth consulting, and they walk out with like a binder of action plans, and it sits in it collects dust on the proverbial desk, because if you don't have the time or the people to execute that plan for you, it's just not going to get done. So
Mhm.
marrying the technology stack that we have that removes the friction of focusing on non-value adding activities, coupled with the execution arm of our consulting team and our growth team, really is the winning formula. And we're seeing that those that are leaning into that and are really working with the team, they're growing at well over 20% organically annually. So, we know it works, and we are seeking advisors in the industry that want to grow. We're not looking for the retiring advisors that want to sail off into the sunset. That's not our model. Like, we
Mhm.
are energized by helping advisors grow so that they may help more people, right? Because that's at the end of the day what we're all about. How can we help advisors so that they may help more people with their financial goals? Our tech,
So,
yeah.
yeah, and that's like I think a really key piece to connect that with your like evaluation of your tech solutions, right?
Totally. So, we have an incredibly modern and agile tech stack. We've got a tech team that not only knows all of the newest technology in the industry, but also we have practice managers that work with our advisors and their staff on making sure that they understand how to use the technology. And we also have our own, what we call RFG talent, which are licensed CSAs and other types of professionals that we hire internally. We train them up, we pay their benefits, we pay their salaries, we pay their PTO and whatever. Our advisors can tap into that group of professionals if they need to on a full-time or fractional basis. So it's almost like an Uber workforce. So advisors, if they need more assistance or they lose their CSA, they don't have to worry about going out, sourcing, hiring, training, onboarding, ramping up, vacations, managing, all of that. They can just tap into RFG talent for the talent they need that is already ramped up, that is already sharing best practices with one another, getting consistently trained on all of our tools and support services, and come together monthly on a pretty structured basis to go over anything new that they might need to share with the advisors that they're working with. So it's a really unique proposition in the industry, and one that really serves our advisors well.
So, I think that what you're getting at is, there's so many technology solutions out there, and lots of vendors and firms are like, oh, we offer this, we offer this, we offer this. What nobody talks about is the actual adoption rate of the technology. So, I think what you're trying to say is that you guys provide the training and resources so that, because a lot of times, a firm may offer all of these tech solutions, but the advisors aren't adopting it because they don't know how to use it. And so is that, I would think, is one of your key differentiators.
Well, and also, our team handles all of the tech integrations, all of the customizations, builds the workflows for advisors. So, in order for us to scale our business, obviously, we need advisors using the same tech stack so that we can be the experts in the tech stack, and we can make sure we're building scale across
Yeah.
the organization, because we don't think that's where advisors' value is anyway,
Yep.
right? Shannon, you want to
100%.
add anything?
I mean, my wheels are just spinning in a million directions because I feel like this is the kind of unsexy detail that is like buried in the footnote that is the key to unlocking organic growth. There is no silver bullet. If there was, we would have all figured it out by now and we'd be sipping pina coladas. And the reality of it is it takes this interconnectivity between each of these different facets in order to have that, not only that organic growth formula, but to have a team who is energized and excited about the work that they are doing. And you can't just win on tech. You can't just win on compliance. You can't just win on ops. You can't just win on talent. You can't just win on investment solutions. All of this has to be brought together. And then the jet fuel in the engine is your marketing. And I think that that is where advisors, and Abby has such a unique and deep experience in building this. This is where advisors miss it. That we talk to advisors all the time, and they talk about turning things on. I'm going to turn on this tech solution. I'm going to turn on this marketing program. And we, kind of laugh. We're like, what are you going to do after you turn it on? Because without all of that interconnectedness being built, without that professionalization and operationalization, you can't initiate a drip marketing campaign targeted at your niche segment of the market with any kind of success if all the rest of it is not in synchronicity. And
Yeah,
that is
is
why this is so hard. That is why organic growth is so like scarce in our industry. And that is what we are truly like obsessed with as delivering platform services of what it means to be independent, what it means to be creating enterprise value. That is our why.
And I
Yeah,
will just add one thing to that because we get really excited over this.
I love
And
it.
if you think about it, so we're not clawing into our advisors and trying to buy their business so that we can increase our RFG enterprise value. We are leaning in to their enterprise value, their brand, their vision for what they want to build. And if you think about it, if you're a 45-year-old advisor who's ready to grow, hungry to serve more people, and you just need the support, the wind beneath your sails, so to speak, to be able to do that. Think about the compounding impact of 20% organic growth over the next 20 years of business for that advisor, and what that advisor's enterprise value will be at the end of 20 years growing at 20% organically. We want to fuel them so they can create their legacy of the future, not our legacy of the future.
That's such a great point of just really creating an actual like case study. Like here's the type of person that this makes sense for. And we were talking a lot about organic growth, and I want to talk about, I think, one program that you guys have just launched that I think is part of one of your organic growth strategies. You guys are great role models for women in our industry, and you've launched this new program called StrongHer Money, focused on providing financial advisors with tools and resources to best serve female clients. So tell us about some of those tools and resources and a little bit more about the why behind the program creation.
So it's not actually a new program.
Oh,
It's
okay.
something that Shannon and one of our amazing advisors came up with in this grassroots way. And we are now, like everything else, institutionalizing and professionalizing it. So I will let Shannon talk to you about the why she and Chris Waddell coined StrongHer Money. And then, I'm super excited because we have an offer out to a senior program director for StrongHer Money, which is like the first real investment in institutionalizing and professionalizing this grassroots program that we know is going to be mission critical for the success of not only America, but also for RFG in the future. So Shannon, why don't you share like how you even started in this?
So this is a little bit of being an outsider coming into this industry. So I joined RFG and I'm starting to learn the RIA business and understanding advisors. And I get hit in the face, like literally everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face style of reading, one of the many studies that are out there. And it's crazy that this data point has not shifted and remains true today, that 70% of women in the event of death and divorce leave their financial advisor. And I literally, my brain exploded. I couldn't believe that that was true. And so I'm a hedge fund, girl. So I went and did the due diligence on this and talked to lots of people, and it was validated over and over and over again. And what was surfacing in that data is that women did not feel included in those conversations with their advisor. They felt left out by our obsession as an industry around jargon. We had not intentionally designed the client experience, the client meetings, our communication style in order to make women feel safe, in order to make women feel empowered by their financial decisions. And then you had this whole crazy data set on the other side of the equation that is, number one, like topping the list is 67% of wealth in this country will be controlled by women by the year 2030. That is going to be 5 years from now. 51% of management jobs in this country are held by women. 90% of household buying decisions are made by women. So you have this powerful set of stats about the importance of really intentionally serving female clients. And then you have this industry that is telling women we're really not going to be here for you when you need us the most. So in my most vulnerable state of death or divorce, when I should be turning immediately to my financial advisor, instead I'm out bumbling in the wilderness looking for a new relationship.
Yeah.
So the original goal of StrongHer Money was to empower women, and this remains our guiding light, to empower women to live financially fearless through education. So we said, if we can just help to give our advisors some resources and some intentional content and some events where we're just even acknowledging the elephant in the room. We might not always get it right, but we want you to feel welcome here. We want you to feel connected to your financial plan and your financial meeting and your relationship with your advisor. And we immediately had, you are not going to solve this problem just with female advisors. Only 14% of advisors across the entire industry are women. And if you look at the independent side, you're in single digits. So this is a shared mission for all of us. And we immediately had 38 of our advisors raise their hand, mostly men, and say, I want to be a StrongHer Money ambassador. Majority of my clients, or 60% of my clients, or even 30% of my clients are women. I was raised by a single mom. I want to intentionally build my practice to be able to serve multi-generations, which means I have to communicate with women. So StrongHer Money, from its inception, has existed on that truth of women are so hungry for advice. Women refer 5x to men.
Wow.
Women are the first to raise their hand and say, feed me education so I can be an informed decision maker, and I will be an incredibly loyal and good client. And I can't even begin to tell you, to Abby's point, that we've got an offer outstanding to really make the first hire into StrongHer Money. The first 6 months of 2025 are going to be StrongHer Money is being a baby brought into the world as opposed to just living within RFG, and the opportunity to bring this to the industry and to empower advisors to have the tools and resources to intentionally connect with their female clients. It is so needed. It is so exciting. And we are just immensely grateful that we have nurtured this asset to this point, that now we can bring it full force into our profession.
Well, it's so smart. All of those statistics it's so important. And I remember when we started talking about this at least 10 years ago, and we're like 2030 seemed so far away. You're right. It's 5 years away. Not a lot has changed. I applaud you guys for investing in the what you're going to need to really help with this education process. It's going to even drive more organic growth, I would believe, for your advisors as well. So congratulations on that. And I really look forward to hearing more about that as it gets developed out. So I can't believe it, but we are at the end of our podcast, at the end of the season of this podcast too. And I always like to leave and ask everyone the same question, right? With the title and the theme of the podcast, focused on the future, keys to building a profitable, sustainable, and impactful business in mind. What's your last line? What's that one key takeaway you want to leave our audience with? Abby, let's start with you.
Yeah, that's a tough one because I love to talk so much. So having one line is
We
going to
always have
be
something interesting to say, right?
right. There you go.
But yeah, but if you're forced to say, it's almost like if you're forced to, what's your last meal, right? If you're forced to say, which I'm making you do right now, what is that one thing that you want that advisor that's listening to this podcast to take away from this interview?
I think it's embrace the future now, because if you're waiting to set yourself up for the future, when you start losing the female clients when they inherit the money, when you start losing your next gen clients because you're not communicating in the way that they want to be communicated to, if you're waiting for that to happen, it's going to be too late, because firms like RFG are equipping and building those systems and tools today to arm our advisors so that they not only keep the assets, but also go out with buckets to capture the assets that are firing the other advisor. So I would say, if you're listening, don't wait until your clients start leaving you when the husband dies or when the wealth transfer happens. Do something about it now, because it is coming.
Yeah, couldn't
I
agree
love
more.
that.
And it can be as simple as, hey, if you're dealing primarily with the husband or the male partner, make sure that you create an activity that proactively engages with the female partner. So great. I love that last line. And Shannon, what about you? What's that last line that you want to leave those listening with today?
Everything you want is on the other side of fear. Everything
Ooh,
you want is on the other side of fear.
love it.
So
So
there is, there are no guarantees. So I think, to Abby's point, like, the future is coming at us fast. And now is the time. We are in a bull market for advice. These next 5 years are going to define what the future of our industry looks like. So you better have the team, you better have the partners who are winning only when you win, and you better be in a position to capitalize, because it is such a noble profession that to let fear hold you back from making the right decisions for your family and for business, you'll regret it.
oh God, what a powerful last line, and what a powerful last line for the last key takeaway of 2024. Don't let fear get in your way. I think that is fantastic advice from both of you. Thank you both so much for being my guests today on the season finale of Focused on the Future, and for sharing some great insights and ideas on how firms can set themselves up to be future-proof. I'm Suzanne Siracuse. Thanks for listening, and I hope this episode leaves you feeling even more excited to be focused on the future. See you in 2025.